here. John Power, what's up, Natalie? Good to see you on here. Andrew, Brian Charles, Jerry, Aisha, Jamie Dendy, Amit, George, Christiani. So, Rain, if you guys have questions throughout this process, feel free to ask me. I'm going to go through, kind of the way that I look through content creation, at least from the perspective of social media, right? There's different platforms that you can use. I would say distribution of your messaging has changed throughout the years. So really, social media is a distribution channel. So if you just look at it that way, then it becomes a different thing. So like, for an example, before we had social media, there was TV, radio, other ways to distribute your message, right? And so social media just put that like almost on steroids. And so if you guys aren't leveraging social media, you should be, because if you're not leveraging it, it's leveraging you, right? And so you want to definitely use social media and not be used by social media. And I want to give you a way almost that you can have a framework to look within. And I'll give you the presentation I'm gonna go through after. But I want to teach you guys this so that way when you use it, it's easy for you to start creating content or looking through the lens that we're looking through. And what I'm going to share with you is not specifically, it's not so tactical that you can't use it in other platforms. I'm going to keep it specific to Facebook just because that's probably the best place that we've gotten the majority of our clients organically. But the same thing could be done on YouTube, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, literally any platform you're on that has an audience. We might actually go over audience building in a different day because audience building is a skill set all of its own. And you always should be building up your audience. But while you're building your audience, you have to have a nurturing process. Okay. And I say this because at scale, if you guys want to really start, dive it into what really drives the business forward is, your list, which are the people that you have, right? The engaged buyers, the repeat buyers, the people that are interested in your stuff. That's the really asset of the internet, if you will. And so it also comes to your social media platforms. That's also a list. The people you have connections with, your network, right? That's also a list. And so what I'm going to share with you is some 7 of the best strategies as far as social media content is concerned that allow you to convert them into clients, okay? And so I'm going to talk through them a little bit, and if you have questions, feel free to ask. All right. There we go. Right. All right. I got the wrong thing here. All righty. Can you guys see my screen?
Not yet.
How about now?
Yes. Now, yes.
Okay, cool. So this is almost a content creation masterclass, if you will, that's revisited. So I've done this class before, and basically, the whole concept here is to create content that converts. Now, this is not doing short form reels. We will have a day where we talk about, using short form to build up your audience and also build up a brand. So that's really, really a good one. But this is specifically once you have like people in your world, this is how you create content that gets them engaged and enrolled into the things that you have, okay? And so we'll have a different day where we talk about how to create Facebook Reels that grow your audience and then also grow your brand. But today, this is the content that converts them, okay? So there we go. Okay, cool. Content that converts. Today is to share with you how to create organic content that converts. So it might be a shorter content day for you guys. I want you guys to see it and then ask me questions. If you have questions specifically, I'm happy to answer any or all questions. Okay, so now why content? So here's what content does for you guys. Content builds credibility. in a world full of snakes and slimy people just trying to make a quick buck, this is what's going to separate you from the pack. Really, truthfully, like there's all these people out there talking about particular tax strategies, or I mean, heck, even I see these Facebook reels of all these people just spreading lies, and that actually could be content, by the way. But I just see a bunch of people out there putting out content, but it shows them credibility, even if they're not saying the right things. And so content creates a brand, whether it be good or bad. It's creating a brand, something that people are looking at you and determining whether or not they're going to continue looking at you, right? And so that's why content really helps. So content also helps with your sales process. So for an example, if you're getting a bunch of people that always ask about price, always ask about, always thinking about it, always trying to like shortcut you or like devalue you, it's because you're not putting enough out there that the trust factor goes back to the top, right? They have to know, like, and what? Does anybody know that old slogan? For someone to want to do business with you, they need to know, like, and trust. That's right. That's right. For someone to want to do business with you, they need to know you. They need to like you in some aspect or like the outcome that you're going to give, and then they need to trust you. But without the first, which is knowing, then they can't like or trust you. And so that's why creating content allows you to distribute your messaging at a bigger scale. And so all that you're going to use this content to create, masterclass, if you will, is to distribute your messaging. Like if you could take one thing away from here today, is be you at a bigger scale. So that's it. Just be more of you, who you are at a bigger scale, because who you are you will attract who you are, right? In most cases. And so content builds credibility, helps you with your sales process. So when you're in the sales process, let's say, for example, someone schedules a call with you. Well, in between the time that they scheduled a call with you and the time that you meet with them, they are in this limbo and they need to know more about your company. They know more about you. They need to know more about your vision, your mission, your values, what you stand for, what you stand against. Like those are things that people need to know before they make a decision. And so when you create content, it allows you to be able to have leverage and go out there and send this to them on behalf. So the closing part goes a lot easier. Number 3, it provides value to your existing clients. So sharing relevant information about content, your existing clients can deepen the understanding or the relationship you have with your clients. Okay, and someone's unmuted. All right, there we go. I muted someone. I'm just gonna mute everybody for a second. If you have a question, just put it in the chat so that way we can keep going. Okay. So number 3, it provides value to existing clients. So for an example, a lot of your clients right now that work with you, if you were to put content out there, that is actually a retention process, because your clients, you're building up almost a second salesperson. So with content, I didn't put this on here, but I guess it's 3A, right? It's 3A. So when you produce content, what it does is it allows your customers to justify why they're paying you. Okay, it's almost like having a storefront, right? It builds that like, oh, he's got a real thing. So when they see your content, especially when it comes to tax planning, not everybody's going to work with you at your office. They need to build some trust. And the majority of the clients that we have right now, 95% of them are virtual. So how do you build trust virtually? Well, you build content online so that way you distribute your message and feel almost the same trust as if I was walking into your office. And so that's the kind of things that you need to do. But it also helps you when someone asks your client, hey, why are you paying this person? Well, look at all the things that they're doing. So you're almost building a salesperson in your client and giving them ammo to go out there and fight the people that say, why should you pay them? They're too expensive, right? And by building content allows you to do that. Number 4 is brand awareness, right? So some people misinterpret what brand really is. Some people think that brand is your logo, some people think it's your website name. Some people think it's that, but really what brand is really just, it's just trying to, I mean, if you go back to what brand really was initially, The brand is like when they used to brand cattle, right? And it influences how people interact with that brand at scale. So essentially, when the brand thing came about, which was branding cows, they wanted to influence the other people that when they see a brand of this cow or this cattle, they would act in accordance to that brand, right? For an example, they would say, oh, this person is of this farm, let's not mess with them. Or they would say the alternative, oh, this person's from this farm, this cow's from this farm, let's mess with them, right? It's just how people perceive it at scale. And so really what you're trying to do is you're building content to allow people to engage with you, but also to see who you are, right? And so I'm going to give you strategy as far as frameworks to look within, but don't take it tactical. Use your own 2 cents on it. And if you have a team, have your team just distribute your message. Because again, if you just outsource the marketing and they falter in the brand itself, then they're putting a bad light out for you. And so it's really, how do we distribute your message at a bigger scale? Okay. And that's what you really want to take under this, right? So why do people not do content? This was one of the things that I had to look back and I was like, why do people not do content? So number one, fear of looking stupid, right? Sometimes they're like, people like, I just don't look good. I mean, and that's a valid statement, right? You just don't want people to laugh at you. That's cool. Lack of knowledge. Sometimes, we get this imposter syndrome where we think, oh, I got all these other CPAs on here with me, so they're going to say I'm wrong if I say that the Augusta rule actually works. And I get it. That's totally a good fear to have. I mean, it's not a good fear to have, but it is a logical fear that most people do have. Fear of criticism, right? Same thing. So if you post something and someone comes back and argues with you about your thoughts, then you have to have that confrontation, and then it makes you look bad, right? That's the thoughts. Unclear about the outcome of the content. Sometimes people don't know why they're posting content, but they're saying they should. They do it just because other people said they should. Okay. So they actually don't know what the outcome is. Lack of time. So some of you guys right here just don't have the time to do it, and I get it. Lack of inspiration. Okay. You just don't know what to say or to who. You don't know what to do. So you're almost you're like paralysis by analysis. You're like trying to overthink this thing that it makes you stop in place. And you're like, I don't know where to go, so I'm not going to do anything. Right? There's this saying that goes, it's fight or flight. Has anyone ever heard that saying of like fight or flight? Okay. You could just type in the chat. All right, cool. AI can help with a lot of content ideas. Good. So there's a common saying that says fight or flight, right? There's also a component of this with social media is freeze, fight, or freeze. And most people, they freeze because they don't know what to do. And they get stuck because they're in analysis paralysis. Number 7, perception of low ROI. Now, most people, they post content, they don't get a result right away, and therefore they think it doesn't work. But oftentimes it's the wrong way of, actually, it's the right lesson for the wrong thing. Okay. So, or the wrong lesson. They get the wrong lesson overall, because we know that content is what Gary Vee talks about. It's what the Rock talks about, right? All these people that have a big brand and have a big influence on people, they all post content. But at the level that most people are right here on the watching this training, we don't have that yet. So we have to do things a little bit differently until we can create that authority and just say things and they just go viral, right? The Rock Johnson, I'm just giving him an example because he has $1 billion brand with his tequila. Before he was doing the tequila, he had 20 years experience being on TV. His distribution channel was huge. And so therefore he was building a brand all the same. He was creating content all the same. He was having a distribution through TV, social media, video, movies, all those distribution channels of content, right? It was all content. It was just in a different distribution channels. Okay. And so this is why most people don't post content. For everybody on here, I'm actually curious, of the 7 right here, which one do you fall or align most with of these 7? Or if there's another I would love to hear what y'all's thoughts are as far as there's something I'm missing here that why you don't post content. So 5, okay. 5. Chris says 6. Okay. Okay, I got 2 5s. What else? So 1 through 5 again. 1 is fear of looking stupid. 2 is lack of knowledge. 3 is fear of criticism. 4 is unclear about the outcome. 5 is lack of time. 6 is lack of inspiration. 7 is perception of low ROI. 7, okay. Okay, good. Strategy. So unclear about the outcome would probably be the strategy, the whole purpose behind it. And then lack of time. Okay, good. Okay, good. So I got 5s here. Lack of time, lack of time. Okay, good. 5. Okay, lack of time. All right, good. A follow-up to the time question. How much time do you guys do? And why don't you have time to post content? Just curious. Like, what do you guys, I'm curious because I would really like to know. What do you, and you can type in the chat, what do you spend the most time on that has nothing to do with content creation?
I was just gonna say real quick, as far as
Yeah.
the time, I feel like it goes back to doing like the videos and stuff, that what we think should take for a 10-second video would take us, 10 minutes to do takes 2 hours. So it's not understanding the strategy of like what to post, how to post, and then the timeliness of I personally go down the rabbit hole and I critique every little thing, and I know that posting something is better than nothing, but then the flip side of wanting it to be professional and have a strategy behind it, I just don't do it.
Got it. Got it. Okay, got it. Cool. Anybody else? George, you had a time one, so I'd really like to hear that one too.
I think it's more in my case of not setting aside the time in my calendar, because the time is not the posting time. It's the time to strategize in my mind what I want to post. Do I want to post weekly, daily, twice a day, 3 times a week, whatever? And once I get that figured out, then just setting aside the time to develop the post. And I think it followed David's recommendation, where he just sets aside a time and does a whole bunch of things over a 1 or 2 hour period, and then he's good for the next week or so.
Okay, good. Love it, George. Appreciate that. So you're saying it's not the time of posting, it's the time of thinking about what to post. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, correct.
Got it. So the time it's not the actual doing, it's the actual thinking of the doing.
Correct.
Got it. John Power, I would love your thoughts on the time too.
I would say probably what George said, I would absolutely agree with, and then also taking the time to actually do whatever the post or the video or whatever it is.
Gotcha. Okay, good. Natalie, you have a 7. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Natalie. Perception of low ROI. What do you mean by that? Just curious.
Good morning. So I just think that I'm afraid that I get discouraged if I only have like one view, or not think like, I don't know. I think that's the whole part. Like, okay, nobody's watching it. Why should I even put the effort into this when I can focus on other stuff?
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one. All right, cool. I love it. Well, I was just curious. Okay, cool. So I'm glad you guys are giving some feedback here.
Hey, Daniel.
Yeah, what's up, Andrew?
I got feedback on that. So it took probably a couple months for me to get any ROI on that.
Yeah.
But now I have people contacting me almost every day. I've got multiple speaking engagements out of it. I've got people referring me that I've never even talked to, just because I have content and it looks like good content. And so, I mean, it does take a little time on that issue, but the ROI has been great.
Yeah. What got you through that hump? because you probably felt the same way Natalie feels. Like, oh, I only got one person. I got one person like my post. I've seen some of your posts that don't even get any likes, and you still do it. What got you through the hump?
I don't know. I just decided it needed to be done and realized that you start out as a nobody, and you at some point you've got to be found, I guess. And if you're putting good content out there, at some point you will be found. If you're putting shitty content out, I don't think you'll be found.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you'll be found out even more so if your stuff sucks.
Well, yeah, that could be.
You get found out even worse. So it's just a I guess like almost a microphone to who you are, right? So good stuff. I'm glad you guys are giving me some feedback on this. Does anybody have here maybe a number that's not on here or something? I know Jamie said a strategy, so that's not on here, but I think it kind of falls into number 4. But does anybody have a reason why they don't post content that's not on this list here? I'd love your thoughts.
So for me, I think it's figuring out how to make the content engaging. So I'm a technical writer, right? So everything I write is like facts, right? It's like this, and this. That's the facts of the situation, right? But
Right.
people don't really read, like, they're not attracted to things that are only facts. They
Right.
want content that engage them, like it catches their attention and it keeps them reading, right? So for me, it's how do I take something that is as dry as tax is and make it engaging so that people will actually want to read what you write? And how do I go from being a technical writer and to transition to writing that engaging content?
Oh, that's such a good one. That's such a good one. I get where you're coming from, actually.
Daniel,
And- yeah, go for it.
so my comment on this, and I'll let you say if I'm right or wrong. I feel like my stuff's probably not necessarily super engaging. Maybe it is, I don't know. But you know, I'm getting good leads from it. And I feel like if, you know, good leads, you don't necessarily have to have as good or as engaging of information as long as the information is good. And maybe I'm wrong on that, but
You're 100% correct. You're 100% correct. Yep. So
okay.
sometimes there's kind of the ebbs and flow, right? There's that like art and science of it. So Andrew's 100% correct with that, being that sometimes your best audience is not going to engage with you at all. Not at all. They are just the looky-loos. They're the people that are just going to look and make a decision and then send you a message. They will never comment on your stuff.
Outside, you got to put your socks on.
Hey, Steph, you want to just mute yourself real quick? So there you go. So sometimes, Chris, and this is great for everybody on here. Natalie, same thing. There's really, if I had to just kind of put it into like a type of person, there's the type of people that are gonna support you and encourage your stuff. And then there's the people that are gonna they're gonna push your brand up, right? But that lift in brand, meaning the people that engage with you, are going to get more of the higher end buyers to actually reach out to you and take action. So there's like 2 types of people, really. The people that support you publicly, and then the people that support you privately, right? And so you want to kind of have this ebbs and flows of it. So Andrew, you do have some content, and I've seen your content. Your content is kind of a mix of both. Without knowing it, you're doing kind of like an engaging thing, but you're also telling them how it is. And so, Chris, I would even go back to venture to say this. You might want to take this into consideration. Facts tell, stories sell. Okay, no matter who makes the amount of money, I don't care if you're $1 billion company, $1 billion brand, $1 billion person. If you hear a good story, you're gonna want to buy. And so, whenever you're making content, just think, what's the story I'm telling these people? What am I telling? What's the story this post, or what's the story this content is telling people, right? And it doesn't have to be like a story like Harry Potter story, but what's the argument I'm making here? What's the thing that they're thinking, right? What's the thing I'm getting them to think? Stalkers. Yeah, there you go. Stalkers. Stalkers got the money, right? So here's some beliefs about content. All pieces of content must serve a purpose. So we don't believe, now maybe some people do believe in just purposeless content posting, which that's cool. We don't believe too hard in that. I mean, there's a point, right, to something that you post. We believe that you should create content and to work to promote that content so you maximize every piece of content. Meaning you don't just post for the sake of volume, you post that content and then hope that it reaches the most people, right? Because then that allows you to have the most reach, which allows you to have the most impact. We also believe that you should give away your best content for free and then charge for implementation. Now, this is something that we actually learned in the recent year. It's so interesting. It's such an interesting topic right here, because most people will think I'm going to save all my greatest stuff for my clients because that's what they're paying me for. Have any of you guys ever thought that? I'm not going to share my best stuff because that's what my clients pay for. Has anyone ever thought that?
I used to, but now I try to give them everything
yeah,
because
it's such a hard thing to get over in your mind though, right?
basically there's so much good stuff. They're going to hire you because they can't do it all, or they can't remember it all, or they don't have the time or the knowledge. So,
And the people yeah, go for it.
That is true because, yeah, I used to also think about, hey, I give my thing away, but it actually intrigues them and they come to you to do that. And when you have your contents generally looking very tax-like legalese. Now that we have the tools like ChatGPT and all, we can ask it to make it like a story, make it different. And
Yeah.
it does. And I do post a lot of content on Facebook and stuff, but that's where it is. Yeah, the original fear was that hey, they'll go and do it on their own.
Mhm.
Nobody has the guts to do it.
Yeah, yeah. And even if they did, they're not your client, because if they did it on their own, they don't have the money. The people that have the money don't want to do it on their own.
And they will eventually come to you if
Correct.
they've tried it.
one thing I like about David's content is it's not super repetitive. You don't see the same stuff over and over and over. Well, you kind of do, but in very different wording. But then it's not such a huge amount of information. You know, I've seen some people who post, I mean, they talk about 30, 40, 50, 100 different topics, and David still keeps it pretty local to the tax strategies, even though he knows about more stuff.
Yeah, and that's
If that
definitely
makes
intentional.
sense.
That's 100% intentional. Because the more you talk about, the more your brand is segmented. Such a weird, at scale, that's such a hard thing to do because everybody is asking you so many different types of things. So you want to do content on all these different things, but you got to think about every new piece of content that takes you into a different content piece creates that much more
Confusion.
yeah, that much more. So think about it like this, right? David's going like, I'm just going to draw on my screen here so you guys can see. So let's say he's talking about real estate 1 month, 2 months. And then he wants to talk about how to get financing. And then he wants to talk about how to get leases, how to negotiate leases. And then he talks about how to build a business. And then he talks about marketing. And so what started out up here, these people right here, they go here and they're like, where the heck do I fit in this? Where do I fit into this content piece? Right? And it becomes more and more challenging to stay focal or to stay localized with your content, the bigger your brand goes. So I'll be honest and transparent and tell you that David's brand has kind of taken a little stunt or like a stint or like a stop because we did this part. And so now it's going back to the beginning. Like, how do I create this content that stays within this realm? Because when I can be the person here, everybody knows when they come here, they're going to get this thing. But when they come and they start getting all these different things, they're like, who are you? What do you do really? Right? And that's how you can tell if your brand is being segmented, is when people start asking you, what do you do? If they keep asking you that, it's because you're creating too many variables for content. And that's, I mean, I'm glad you said Andrew, not me. But yeah, so back to this point, I'm gonna actually tell you guys a quick story about this. So when we first started this content thing, we hired a content agency, right? Like a content producer, someone who literally shot the videos, edit the videos, post the content, right? So that's three different things. And back to your point, George, when you guys create content at scale, you're gonna probably need a couple of different things that you have to think about. Is number one, script writing. Number two, editing. Number three, distribution on which channel. And number four, actually those three, and then research. So you always have to be researching, right? So it's a pretty big thing if you start going down it. But anyways, so we had this person who was a vendor, and he was doing content for David. And I mean, he was blowing up David's channel like crazy. Like we went from we were getting 1,000 new followers a week at one point, and between Facebook and Instagram. And then one day we told him, we were like, hey man, you should probably teach people how to do this. And he said exactly that. He said, why would I teach people what I'm doing? That's why they pay me. And so the guy, and David says it too, right? The guy could have been making $600,000 a year. Instead, he settled for $60,000 a year because he was thinking too short term. He was thinking too small. He was thinking if I give away my best, nobody would want to pay me. But the alternative is true, because if you guys saw someone that knew how to grow a channel, how many of you guys would pay him just to do it for you? Probably all of you guys would say, like, forget that. I'm just going to hire this dude to do it for me. But because he was unwilling to give away his best stuff, he's now stuck. And unfortunate, because he's got a great talent. The challenge is he said, and this can go back to you guys too. You guys have a great knowledge base. And I'm saying this because I don't know if anybody here has that hang up, but I say that because if you have the hang up, I shouldn't give away my best stuff. Just revert back to that thought process of what that guy could have done with his brand, or with his content creation. He didn't want to give away his best stuff because he thought people should pay me for this. And if I do it for free, then they're not going to want to pay me. And so, long story short, he missed out on a lot of opportunity just because he did not want to give away his best stuff. Okay. So, okay. So what should your content contain? So your free content or anything you talk about should be about what and why your clients will pay to learn how. Okay. What and why your clients will pay to learn how. Okay. And back to Andrew's point, right? You can even actually talk about how to do things. Like how-tos are probably the best and most important things. But when you say how-to, you're talking about the what and why, right? Like even more so, like how to create marketing, right? How to create content that converts. Do you see what I mean? These are all how-tos, but you're still talking about the what and the why. Because you need to sell them on the vision of what's going to happen or what they should be doing or what should they be focusing on. And try to stay away from as much technical talk as possible because they're not going to understand. Like you got to look at it from the perspective of your contractor client that's literally on the road all day. He's going from site to site to site to look at all his jobs or to work with all his managers, and he's just looking at your stuff probably haphazardly, just sitting down or in the truck, just listening to you. And if he's listening to all these random things about all this technical knowledge, he's not going to pay attention. He's just going to zone out. But if you could be telling him a story about a contractor like him that was able to save $500,000 a year by doing 3 tax strategies, and these are the 3 tax strategies, then he's going to be way more intrigued to say, oh, shoot, those are the tax strategies. And this is how I could do it if I wanted to, but I'd rather talk to Andrew about this because he knows. What if I make a mistake? Does that make sense, guys?
Daniel,
And Jerry's like, can you send me the number? Jerry.
Can you please clarify this point again where it says your free content or anything you talk about should be about what and why, and your clients will pay you how. Just elaborate a little bit more, please.
Yeah. So when you say, let's just say, for example, how to save money on taxes, how to save $100,000 on taxes, right? When you're talking about how to save money on taxes, think about it from the perspective of the client that's coming in. They don't know anything about anything. So they first have to be introduced to the idea that it's possible to save money on taxes. So the what? You have to introduce them to the opportunity. You have to introduce them to what that thing is and why it's important, right? Before you tell people how to, you know, let's just say, okay, let's say I'm baking a cake, how to bake a cake. I can teach you how to bake a cake, but you have to already come with the knowing that what do I want to make and why do I want to make it? Because you're hungry and you want some sweets. Does that make sense? So I'm going to teach you how to, but I'm really talking about what you want to do. Hey, you want to make a cake and here's why you want to do it. And then here's how to do it. Here's the technical steps. But you first have to introduce people as to what's the opportunity and why do they want it. And then you talk about how to, because you have to sell it goes back to the sales, right? It goes back to sales. You're selling the vacation. You're not, you're selling the destination. You're not selling the plane ride. You're teaching them that you're not teaching them how to build a boat. You're telling them this is the boat. And then they say, got it. Can you be my captain of the ship, if you will? Can you take me along with you? Can you teach me? Can you show me? Can you guide me? You become almost the guide, the Yoda, the person that shows them the way. Does that make sense, Jerry?
Yes, I was meant to be called the kids.
Yeah. So that's perfect. And I'm going to talk about some things, and I might actually, since you guys are bringing up some good stuff, I might actually talk a little bit even more about some real high level. I mean, not high level, but it's kind of stuff that you guys already do, just don't know you're doing it. Because there is ways to really get attention faster. Some of them are kind of like, you don't want to do them all the time, but if you do them, it's going to get your attention, right? Like one of them is shock and awe, right? It's like the news stations, right? It's like, if it bleeds, it leads. You see what I mean by that? So if it bleeds, it leads, right? But let's get into some of these main types of topics that you want to talk about. Now, do you want to do that? No, you don't want to lead with that, because then they associate you with pain. You want to lead with ways that allow your clients to engage with you in a way that they feel welcomed and they feel like they're getting something from you. That's the most important thing, because your client's already on edge. Think about where they're coming from. They're coming from a perspective of, my current CPA sucks. My current thing sucks. I need something new and different and better. And so essentially when you're talking content, and this content right here I'm going to share with you, it's like simple stuff just to get people off the door, out the door, right? Like just to get people engaged with you. The real stuff happens in the DMs and on the conversations you talk about. And what's cool, I can even tell you guys how to maximize content, right? By using one thing, like use one thing to maximize multiple things. So no CPDA talks about structure. Okay, cool. So here's a few content to client system. Here's a few things. So number one, it's engagement and involvement posts. So these kind of posts, even on social media, are really impactful because it involves people more than just yourself. The community is better than the one, right? The sum of all of us, all the parts are better than the single part, okay? And so when you're creating these kind of posts, you want to think, and again, this goes back to art and science. So if you're going to ask, hey, do I have a content calendar? I don't, because you kind of just have to play it by ear, how you feel it. David, you'll still notice when David's posting himself and when people are posting on his behalf, because the message changes. The way that people engage change, because David knows his audience better than anybody else. Okay. Like recently we put up an offer for like $150,000 a year program that you know, they were going to be a part of. And I was looking at it, I'm like, David did that, right? And he's like, yeah, I did that. And I go, got it. I can tell the difference because I know who's you and who's not you. And so, you know, from that, we were able to, you know, get some clients from that. But the idea here is that you want to use these type of posts to get people involved. So this is like people that are lurking. You want to get them almost like out the fence. And the best ways to really do this is ask people about themselves. Everybody here wants to talk about number one in their life, which is themselves. And so if you find a way to engage them, to allow them to talk together with each other, then it's so much easier. For an example, how can we partner together? Jamie, right? Jamie, if she wanted to go post out there, be something like, if she wants to create an involvement post, like something to bring people together. I'm thinking about changing my brand colors. What's y'all's favorite color? See, what you're doing there is you're polling your audience, but you're also asking them to give you what they think's best, so that way when you create, it's co-creation. It's not me make, it's we make. Does that make sense? And the distinguish like the difference there, Jamie? For an example, right? If I put Amit, if I said, hey guys, just curious, I'm putting some new stuff on my site. Which one sounds better? I help the client save $1 million in taxes, or I help a doctor retire rich. See how, like, now I'm involving them, but what I'm really doing is I'm hooking them to be like, oh shoot. I don't know if you guys are picking up what I'm putting down here, but imagine I'm Amit and I say that. What do you think I'm thinking? Shoot, this guy has some pretty good results, and he's kind of almost like telling me testimonials without telling me testimonials. Does that make sense, Amit?
Mm-hmm.
So something like that, you know, could help tremendously. Charles, you too. This is why I was telling you, like, when you're thinking stuff like this, you also, I'll talk a little bit more about it in a few minutes, but Charles, like, you can literally go out there and just say, you know, hey guys, David does it. You can do it any way you want. You can do it business. You can do it like personal. You can say, hey guys, I'm thinking about getting LASIK. What do you think? And I've done that already. That's why I got LASIK. And then, you know, people engaged with it. Right. And it doesn't have to be always business, because people know that business is, you know, like, they're just normal human beings at the end of the day. So if you're just posting about business and never about your own life, this is what Charles does really, really good. He does both. He does his life and he does business. And so I guarantee that his life posts get so much more engagement, so many more people engage with him when he talks about his family, the things he's doing, than his business posts. Am I right, Charles? Yeah, I see him like, yeah, right?
100%. That's so true. Yeah.
And so, you know, things like this, when you're talking involvement posts, just think about it. Like, you don't have to be a super genius. Just think about, how can I involve my people? How can I get them a part of this? How can I make them a partner on my creation of this thing? So that way they take ownership of this. Because if they take ownership, it's hard for them to say no to it. Do you see what I mean? Like, when we were creating this software, do you think we just made it without y'all's input? No. We made it with y'all's input so that way you take ownership of it. And so that way you want to buy it, because you're like, I made this. Of course I want it. Okay, cool. Does anybody have any questions about the involvement, engagement type posting before I go on to the next one? All right, no questions. Good. We're going through this pretty fast. Number 2 is direct offer posts. Direct offer posts. So this is where, you know, you literally just make a direct offer. Hey, I want this. Here's what you need to do. I'm looking for 5 business owners who want to save money on taxes this year. Who's with me? Who wants more information? I've seen you done that a couple times, Andrew. This is a direct offer post. These you cannot do every single day. You have to do them like sparingly. It's kind of like the Gary Vee model. It's like, jab, 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 right hook. You want to give, and then ask. So this, I would like put this, if I had a content calendar together, I would put this like once a month, maybe. Because people are going to directly start to just message you because your flow of market or your flow of content just continues to go out there. This one just so happened we were doing a program. We were going to create a new program. And by the way, this post was in 2021. So this was the start of this, essentially this program. I told David, look, this is how we're going to roll this out. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. And so you can click here to watch this video if you want. It got quite a bit of people. But this is a direct offer post. Like we literally said, hey, I'm going to put this thing together. This is what I need from you if you're this person. And because of that, we got leads, we got sales, we got people that wanted to sign up. I think we made like, off of this one, we made like 100 grand in like 17 days or something like that. But the idea here is you literally just say, here's what I want. Here's what I'm looking for. Here's who I need. That's it. Jerry, if you went and did this and you say, hey, this is who I'm looking for 5 business owners who owe $35,000 or paid $35,000 in taxes last year and don't want to pay it again, like this post and I'll message you. Like that's it. It's a direct offer. And again, you want to seed these into your content postings because you don't want to do this all the time because it's always like, I'm always getting, I'm never giving. And so that's where you want to make sure that your giving ratio is much higher than your getting ratio. Does that make sense, guys? Can nod your head. Okay, good. Good. So number 3 is back to what I said, Charles, life posts. These are so good because it brings that big business thing and it makes it reality. Because at the end, at the core or the center of all business owners, all y'all's business owners, at the center of it is a person that has a life, that wants to enjoy their life, that wants to spend time with their family, that wants to grow their wealth, that wants to do all these things that outside of business. They use business as their mechanism to become a type of person, to do a certain type of thing. And so when you just talk about your life, they're going to be like, oh, I like this guy. And this is why you guys probably like David, because when he posts about his life, about things he's doing, about the time he wakes up at 4 a.m, you look at this and you're like, oh, got it. I'm like that guy, or I want to be like that. I inspire to be like this one. Does that make sense? A lot of us don't like to do the life post because you're like, oh, I'm such a introvert. I don't share my life on social media. I'm not saying you have to like share like your divorce and stuff like that or anything like that. I'm saying like, hey, I went, Jerry's like, yeah. I'm saying like, you just share stuff like for an example, hey, I went to go get LASIK. So cool. Such a cool experience. Or I'll probably post something the other day and tomorrow or today I'll say, I was the only patient in the history of getting LASIK to throw up during the procedure. And people are like, they'll probably start laughing, right? But it brings me closer to the person that they are, right? Or it brings more light to hey, I'm a person at the end of the day. And so it makes it easier for them to engage with you. Because people don't do business with businesses, they do business with people, right? They buy from people, not businesses. And so if you can make yourself less of a business and more of a person that just so happens to do business, then they look at you in a different light. Okay. Number 4 is motivation, inspiration. A lot of you guys probably like to post this, right? It's a good post. It's always good. You can just use this to inspire people. I took this post from someone I follow on social media, and he says, no matter how long your goals take, don't give up. After 10 years of praying and busting my ass, my son is fully moving in with me full time. I don't think I've ever been this happy in my life. You see, it's just motivation and inspiration. And really, in that sentence right there, you told a story. After 10 years of doing this work, now this thing, right? Before and after. Before and afters are huge. If I didn't put that on there, before and afters are huge. If all I had was before and afters to show you guys, things would just go so much smoother, right? Before I came to the United States, I was doing this. Now I'm in the US and I'm living the American dream, right? Charles, Jerry, you guys can put that right away. You can say I came from the UK knowing nothing. Now I'm in the US helping business owners making millions of dollars, saving them millions of dollars. So happy to be a part of this. And boom, just like that, you already got everybody on your side. Because everybody likes an underdog story. Everybody likes a comeback story. Like, I was here, now I'm there. If that wasn't on there. And if anybody else has come from, I just know Charles and Jerry came from the UK. I think you guys came from the UK, right? Both of you guys came from the UK?
Yeah, I was there for 15 years.
Yeah, 15 years. I
And
think
my
Charles
kids
was there
were
for
born there.
Yeah. So there you go. Like, you came over here and you could just say, I was there and now I'm here. Christian, oh, there's Chris. Yeah. I came from, from a different country and I'm here living the American dream. I love it. And I'm doing the things that I love to do with the people I love to do. Right. You say it like that, it's an inspiration.
Right.
Okay. Number 5, value. This is where, a lot of things, this is where that technical part of you, Christiane, wants to come out. This is where you do that. Okay. This is where you do that. So you want to do value, but you see, there's all these other things that you can do. There's all these other things. You can do an engagement one day, a direct offer one day, again, once a month, probably this.
Mhm.
Live
So-
posts, you could share that every day. Hey, I just came back.
Question,
Go ahead.
is there a cadence to how we would post these different types of posts?
No, there's no cadence. I mean, you just want to give more than you receive. Let's put it that way.
Right.
So this one would be the lowest on the rung, meaning this would be the lowest one you want to post. If you had a sequence, you would just post this one last.
Okay.
But all the other ones are actually providing value without you knowing it. A live post provides value in the sense that now I'm sharing a little bit more about my life and they get to see me as a human being. This motivation post sees that I'm doing something in the world. I'm doing something. I'm becoming someone. I'm helping people, right? There's things going on. They want to see momentum. They want to see growth. 5th, value. Like, everybody wants to do this every day where they just say, here's the 3 steps to do an Augusta rule. Here's the 4 steps to write off your house. Here's the 10 ideas that, and those are great, but they're great for people that it's great just to look at, but you can't, apart from, you can't engage with it for one, because it's how it is. It's just how it is. Like, there's no controversy to it. There's nothing to it. It's just how it is. Right. And so you're not going to get any engagement on these value posts, but they're there for the people that when they see your stuff and they engage with you, they have some meat on the bone, if that makes any sense. Like, they put something, there for you. Okay. So value, right? So, this is where, you talk about, here's the 10 ways to write off your kids or hire your kids. All right. Here's what I'm doing in my tax industry. Here's what I'm doing in my tax business this year. That's a value post, right? Here's what I'm doing in my tax business this year. This is the transition I'm making. This is what I'm doing. Okay. Number 6, reshareable content. So sometimes you can just write stuff and it just blows up. Like, sometimes sometimes what I do is I just go look for shareable quotes, and I take them from what do you call it? Like, Pinterest or Reddit or anything like they'll share or Twitter. I'll just go find that and then I'll just post it on Facebook, and then I'll just quote the person that wrote it, and then I know it's shared over there, so I might as well share it here, and it works. So I use someone else's leverage to get leverage. So that's number 6. Okay. So reshareable content, easily stuff that people can say, I agree with. So if you're thinking about what's something that can be shared, something that a lot of people can agree with, in an easy way, right? Like, if, for an example, you can say or I guess if you're in America, you can say, I'm in the greatest country in the world, right? And a lot of people that are in America would say, I agree with you. Or vice versa. You could say, America is the worst place on planet Earth, and I love the Caribbean. But I agree with you, right? The people from the Caribbean, you just got to make sure you're doing it on the right, with the right audience in the world, right? Because if you have all people from the US and you say that, then you're like, you just delineate, you just you alienated yourself from everybody else. You just made all your audience go like, nope, never mind. I don't want this person on my feed, right? And so you just want to use that with caution if you're gonna do something like that. So like you can even write this one. Sometimes you have to unfollow people in real life. Like, oh yeah, I do, right? You know, and just look at other people sharing stuff. Just look at other people, like what they share, and then you can use it. Okay, and then the bonus one. This is my favorite one. And this is great for people that are just starting or restarting, or even a shift in the focus. So right now, if you're in analysis paralysis and you're like, I want to start posting stuff, but all these people know me for this, or all these people don't, I have never posted in my life. I don't know what to do. This is the perfect post for that. Okay. And I want to spend the next minute and a half talking about this one thing, because this one right here is such a great one that you can do every 90 days. That just resets. Almost think of it like a purge. I call it parting the seas, right? The segmentation. It's really like a line in the sand. Like, I'm going here. If you're with me, get on my boat. If you're not, get off the boat. Either way, still love you. That's it, right? That's the whole. You can see this here. What I told David to post. I mean, he comes up with his own stuff, right? But I give him the frameworks the same way I gave you guys, and then he runs with it. So if you see it here, he says, the time has come. This isn't personal, but please read. And he just says, thank everybody for being here. Thank you for doing this, but here's what I'm doing now. And here's where I'm going to go. And who's with me? And then what happens is you get just all these people. They're just saying like, I'm so with you. I love you. I blah, blah, blah. And like Andrew said, you're going to get all these people that out of the woodworks have never engaged with you. But all of a sudden they're like, okay, what are you doing? What do you got? Who do you do? What do you do? Like, it just happens. And I can't explain it, but it just happens every time you make this post. Specifically this post, it happens like that. Because this one will probably be your highest engagement post, simply because you're standing for something and you're saying, this is where I'm going. Most people never do that in their life, right? And I'm not saying you did or don't, but really, if you're just saying it out loud, hey, my name is Chris. Here's what I've done. Here's what I'm doing. Here's where I'm going. Who wants to be a part of it? I'd love to be a part of it with you. Boom.
Hey,
Right?
Daniel.
What's up, Andrew?
Is it better to do these as posts or as videos, or does it matter? Or
It doesn't matter really. But I would go, if you were gonna, I know you like to do video. Well, I mean, you do both, right? You do both. So I don't know which one you like better.
I personally feel like videos are more intimate, maybe,
Mhm.
and better,
Yeah.
but they take longer.
That could be true. What you could do is you can use this text and make a video out of it. So again, the headline on your video, if you're going to do it as a video, it'd probably do just as good, if not better, on video than it would be on this. The only reason why I say like this one's a kind of a post is because people can read it when they get a chance. Sometimes not everybody can listen to your video unless they're like dedicated to sitting down and listening to that video. So, you know, it just kind of ebbs and flows. Again, it's kind of like that happy medium. You can even do this, and then the next post, you just do the same video and just say huge announcement and literally read this out, because the people that read it probably aren't going to watch it, and vice versa. So there's three types of avenues. They can listen, watch, or read. And so if you hit all three of those different processes, and with video, you hit two, right? They can listen and see, but they can't read, right? And so with the video, you can hit two of those with two birds with one stone. And then the text will help them see it and read it. And so you hit all three different types of those people. Does that make sense, Andrew?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, all right. So that's the 7 posts I would suggest that you guys do. I'm going to give you guys this presentation. You guys can go out there and use it. But I also want you guys to just take into consideration the things that, essentially we talked about here. As far as like the posting strategies, you don't have to make so much emphasis on direct posts or even value. Like this is how to do this and the 10 steps to do an Augusta roll. All those things, they can just come like once a week, maybe. The 10 strategies for this. Like I would just put it like once a week. Everything else, just kind of share your life, share your, share common things, but use those frameworks so you can make the story and write the story of your life, and then people follow you around for the journey. Does that make sense, guys? All right,
Awesome.
guys. Well, I appreciate you guys. I will see you tomorrow on Tech Tuesday. If you guys have any questions, feel free to hit me up in Slack, okay?
Great session. Thank you.
Bye-bye, everybody.